So a very warm welcome, my dear entrepreneurs, to this brand new and exciting video of mine, which is specifically designed to be about a truly vital and incredibly important topic for the success and growth of any thriving business venture, the absolutely essential and foundational element that is the team. Today, I want to talk to you about how important a strong team is and what you might be doing wrong if you still don't feel supported by your team. If you are still doing tasks that your people should be handling, if you are still, for example, replying to direct messages yourself, God forbid, while being the manager. If you are still stepping in for the administrator. If you are still being told at the last minute that someone is overwhelmed and won't come to work and you end up putting out fires. In general, if you are the one resolving conflicts with clients and getting involved in all these if you are still involved in all these processes, basically getting bogged down in the day-to-day grind, it means you still haven't managed to build that great team that would support you and have your back, allowing you as a manager to focus on completely different strategic tasks in your business. What should a manager be doing? They should be working on bringing in clients, developing a solid marketing strategy, and hiring great people. Onboarding these people, financial literacy, building great relationships with partners, these are the things you should be focusing on, not handling client issues in direct messages or managing bookings, you see? What I want to say is that you need to understand that your team is your mirror. In other words, what you have right now is a reflection of yourself. If you have an undisciplined team, a team that irritates you, a team that doesn't listen to you, you should really be asking yourself some questions. What's wrong with me? Why am I attracting these kinds of people right now? Or why can't I help my people grow into more competent, disciplined team members and so on? Let me just give you an example right away. People love examples. For example, let's imagine you have a meeting. Let's say you do. I'm not sure if you actually hold them or not. And if you, as the leader, are always late to these meetings, and for instance, you don't have a manager or anyone else in charge, basically you just consistently show up late to meetings. Or if you are the master of your own studio and you also show up late to your clients, then you will never be able to explain or set rules where your employees are not supposed to be late. From the administrator to the masters, everyone, because their leader, the person they are supposed to look up to, behaves this way. That's why the most important thing you need to understand is that we should always look for the root of the problem within ourselves. I have some notes here that I made so I wouldn't forget anything, to make sure I tell you everything I want to share. I've simply never been a master myself. I started my business without ever being a master. On one hand, that's really risky, but at the time, I didn't understand anything about business at all. I started intuitively, and I just had a small nail studio. And at some point, my studio went completely downhill because everything was going really badly, and I had no idea what to do. And the thought occurred to me to become a master myself. So at one point, I went to study to become a lash and brow lamination master, thinking that would help pull my studio out of the difficult situation it had ended up in. But that was the worst decision, because what was I doing? Once again, I was focusing all my attention. Instead of focusing my attention on strategy, I was focusing on clients, the ones I was supposed to be attracting to myself. But who was going to take care of the employees? Naturally, it was a very bad idea. Eventually, I got pregnant, I gave birth, and thank God I basically realized that this was not a solution to the problem at all. And of course, that was a turning point in my life. I started to learn. And overall, now already having a huge salon, a large 2-story space of more than 160 square meters with over 25 employees under my supervision, and we're still scaling up and have no intention of stopping, I realized that without the training I went through, I wouldn't have achieved any of this, because intuitively, we simply can't reach a new level. It's impossible. Or it would mean so many bumps and bruises along the way that they would cost us a huge amount of time and money, because every bump, every mistake is time. And time spent on the wrong things is money. I think my audience is super smart, honestly, and you really don't need this explained to you. You already understand all of this. Absolutely be sure to follow my Instagram. There's a lot of useful content there as well. And overall, I have various interesting educational programs, some long, some not so long, some short and intensive, as well as diagnostics and consultations. In general, you can definitely find something in my product lineup that will be convenient and useful for you. But that's 100% if you have the kinds of problems I've mentioned. You really do need to address these issues 100%, because leaving problems unresolved only causes them to pile up, and eventually it turns into a huge room that becomes very difficult to break down later on. So what do I want to tell you next? For example, you might have some typical mistakes, like when your employees are late for work, or even worse, late for clients, or when appointments get missed altogether, which is a complete disaster. Clients complain, the administrator doesn't respond because they don't know how, or maybe your administrator is actually good but can't do anything about it because there are no job descriptions, no one knows the rules, and everyone just goes about their business as they please. Or perhaps you are the dedicated administrator who is also the diligent manager, and you genuinely can't really do anything substantial about all of this complex situation either. And it's truly a very sad and unfortunate situation, because if you, as a responsible manager, absolutely can't bring this entire chaotic mess to a significantly new and improved level, then believe me, if you genuinely can't accomplish it now, you most certainly won't suddenly have brilliant new ideas or effective solutions tomorrow. And since your structure is already quite unstable and there is no robust system in place, every test you run might bring poor results, and you'll end up sinking even deeper into your own pit. Because if you are currently at a level where there are no rules, no checklists, where your staff can actually get away with things like this, and you don't know how to move forward, and quite often these are people with very good turnover, but they don't know how to put a stop to it, especially when your staff works on a walk-in basis and the team has no rules. But my friends, rules exist everywhere. They exist in the government, right? In every country, and in traffic regulations. Because if there were no traffic rules, then everyone would drive however they wanted and accidents would constantly happen. And even as it is, accidents still happen. Just imagine how people would drive if there were no rules at all. It would be complete chaos. The same kind of chaos happens in your business if you have no rules, no penalties, no clear guidelines for people to rely on. After all, rules aren't about being a bad boss. They're about discipline. Rules are about giving people a set of guidelines they can rely on. In other words, they understand what they are allowed to do and what they are not. That way, even a manager who joins the business finds it much easier because she clearly knows what she can rely on. And in fact, very often people actually write to me saying, I have a team, I have really good people working for me, but I originally hired them without any specific rules in place, there were no agreements set in advance. They work for me on an appointment basis. I don't know how to change this. Overall, I really want to scale up, but I keep losing appointments because people come and go since they just had an appointment, and once it ended, they left. They already have other plans. I don't know how to change this, and I'm afraid of ruining my relationships with my employees. Look, I've been through all of this myself. Just taking my training and thinking that in one day you can change all the rules and implement them, that's not true, and it wouldn't be right. You know, I also once made some very abrupt moves, and I really did lose most of my team. I don't regret it, because at that time, honestly, it was better that way than to stay with the team I had. But at the same time, you need to be a leader with a strategic mindset. And a strategist always thinks in a way that benefits themselves too. That is, they think long term. They think about not losing anything right now as well. And in general, it's right to make any changes gradually. So gradually that people have time to get used to them. And those who still can't adapt to all of this, you basically don't need them, and let them, frankly speaking, go work somewhere else. Because we will definitely need new people for new results, and we will need people who are ready for some new changes, who in general, they will push you to grow, because the team that stayed with me and the people who joined after the changes, most of them are still with me to this day. We don't have turnover. People only leave because, for example, they move to another country, get married, become pregnant, and so on. So for a very long time now, I haven't had any turnover, like I'm just leaving for some unclear reason. So my friends, all of this is also about building a system which doesn't just come to me in a single day, but this requires steps, which of course I share in all of my trainings. You can go and take a look in general, as I've already mentioned, at my product line and see what's included in my training. The flagship training is called Masha. It's called Masha, Your Own Beauty Business. It covers absolutely all aspects of business. I love it because, for example, if I have a training on marketing, it's only about marketing and attracting clients. But Masha covers everything. It's about financial literacy, setting up a CRM system, launching newsletters, setting up bots, connecting and automating processes. It covers administrators, how to train them, how they should work, what exactly they should do, how to motivate them, how to pay them so that they actually sell. It's about hiring, how to hire the right people, how to conduct interviews properly, how to communicate with them, how to correctly assess employees' types. It's about the team. It's about client days, management, hiring an assistant. It covers everything. There are 8 modules. It's a comprehensive 2-month training program with me, my supervisor, and lessons that were filmed with a professional camera. It's beautifully shot and it's all hosted on the GitCourse platform. So my friends, if you need to learn, if you want to improve your skills, I highly recommend it to all of you. At the end, there will definitely be a link to a questionnaire under the video. You can simply fill it out and then the support team will contact you so you can ask any questions you have and any necessary links will be sent to you. So if this is actually happening to you and you're experiencing this chaos, just like in the question I mentioned, people ask me what to do about it. You won't be able to change it all at once. You need to change it gradually. Every business has its own situation. You need to really understand who is working with you and what results they are achieving. We look at their finances. I teach you. In fact, if you're taking a training course, talk to your employees using the language of numbers, not things like, Masha, it's bad to be late, or Masha, I'm lowering your percentage because I decided so, because I took a training course. No, we look at her average receipts, for example. We look at her client return rate, her efficiency. Maybe Masha actually deserves a raise, not the other way around. And of course, all of this gets resolved gradually, naturally, without introducing new checklists, job descriptions, rules, and so on into the business. It won't work. Well, I mean, it just won't work. You just shouldn't do it abruptly, and you shouldn't do it just for the sake of it, making everyone fall in line, because people were working under one set of conditions and now you're imposing different ones on them. It won't work. But I want to tell you, my friends, that if you have people working by appointment, it's a common situation. When people work by appointment, for example, if their appointment is at 12, they show up at 12. And by 2 o'clock, they're basically done. And they already have a plan for 2:30. They have appointments every 30 minutes. But you, as it were, are on site. You decided, or maybe a client just walked in, or you simply made an additional sale, or a client who came for a manicure suddenly wants a pedicure and they ask if they can get it, but you're just standing there and you have to figure things out. Ask, even beg your specialist to stay. They say, I have a date, I can't. And what happens is that the appointment gets lost. Even if it doesn't get lost, you find a way out through what kind of resistance, what kind of energy you had to spend to find this solution, when in reality the person just needed to be at work from 10 to 8. And if they had a free slot, you would have scheduled the appointment for them and they would actually be happy because they'd get an appointment. But when he works only by appointment, he naturally just complains. At that moment, he's not thinking about losing money or a client. He's thinking about his date and that he's busy. And generally, what kind of manners does the manager have to disrupt his plans like that? So yes, my friends, there's a very important point here. Without a system, you won't be able to build a great, disciplined business that will consistently generate good profits and ensure your growth, because chaos will keep happening all the time. You know what's even worse? The worst part is that any new employee who joins your business will see this chaos, and you won't be able to bring a new employee in under new conditions, because at the very least, they'll see what's going on and think, why should I stay here if everyone else is leaving? Do you understand? That's why there's this divide between old and new employees, where you might think you can just come out clean, like, well, let the new people work under new conditions and the old ones stick to the old terms. But that's not a great situation either. I'm totally against this, weird kind of monarchy where the old timers just sit at the base and people come and go and the poor newcomers end up with less work. Even though they're actually much better, much more productive, more agreeable, and much more ready to grow and so on. So yes, of course, you can't do without knowledge here. You need structure, you need a systematic approach. And again, where are you going without it? Amal, there's no single solution. You always have to rely on the business itself. And when you come to me for training, whether group or individual, in any case, you build a strategy and we help you develop it based on your situation, because everyone's situation is different. I want to tell you that it's not people, but the system that makes a business stable. That's 100% true. When you have a systematic business, systematic people are drawn to you. Let's suppose that I am a very systematic person, for example, a specialist who really wants to work in a good, well-organized company where everything is clear. And I come in and see chaos. As a systematic and excellent employee, I wouldn't want to work in an organization where there's chaos. So if I am systematic, then I will go to a systematic place. If I come to you and you're not systematic, I won't stay with you. And then if you don't have a system inside, you'll attract people who are also not systematic. That's why it's very important not just to focus on hiring. Of course, hiring is important. At the same time, if you decide to hire new people, it's crucial to hire the right people, and it's very important to type people correctly. It's very important to understand whom we are hiring and how we motivate them, because not everyone is motivated by money, my friends. I even have an entire blog about the team on this topic. What types of employees there are, how to talk to each of them, because some people just need to be praised. And they absolutely love it and are ready to do anything for your organization just because you praise them once a week. For a good reason, of course. Some people are really only motivated by money, while others are motivated by something completely different. An extra day off can be motivating for someone. You see, it all depends on the type of employee. And of course, adaptation is extremely important. A lot of people simply don't understand what's going on. They hire someone, everything seems fine, the employee is great, everything seems normal, and then the employee just quits after a week or two. I want to tell you that adaptation is a very important stage that a huge number of employers overlook. For example, those employers who are very busy or caught up in operations, they don't have time to do this and their employees don't get proper onboarding. So the employee comes in and what do they see? They see a lack of attention. Maybe they can't get answers to some of their questions because they're new and don't understand things yet. Maybe your other employees don't communicate with them very well, or maybe no one has time to talk to them at all, or there's simply no one assigned to interact with them. And because of this, people feel alienated, invisible, and end up quitting. That's why this adaptation stage is so important, and yet so many people overlook it. This is also a very important point that we cover in my trainings, especially in the Scale course, because it's a course that covers everything. It's precisely through adaptation that you can retain an employee, because an employee who goes through proper adaptation is much more likely to stay with you. So what is adaptation? It's really about being there for the person during their initial period, supporting them, asking how they're doing, whether everything is okay, and if everything is clear to them. It's simple and straightforward, but a huge number of people don't do this and of course end up losing people. I'll let you in on a secret. When I started learning about this topic, when my mentors explained all of this to me back in the day, I began conducting surveys among my own employees, and it turned out that most of them also wanted to quit after 2 weeks. It was just by chance, maybe I was lucky, or maybe it was simply because some people had a good workload or the team was good that they ended up staying. So as it turned out, I was generally lucky. People stayed, they stuck around, but it could have easily been otherwise. And what was the problem? At that time, I was extremely busy. The business was really taking off. Everything was going well, but I was already running out of time. And that's when, after I started noticing these problems, I realized I needed a manager. And I really did need a manager in order to start onboarding employees, understanding the problems, and conducting these surveys. Basically, at that moment, I also needed to move to another level myself. And it was through these kinds of situations that were holding my business back. I clearly realized that all of this was seriously slowing down my business because I wasn't spending time with my employees. I wasn't doing anything with them. In other words, no surveys, just meetings. That's not enough. We already had a lot of people. So my friends, all of this is important. And of course, all these papers, all these checklists, all these crucial things. Yes, even the onboarding processes. Of course, you'll get all of this in the training if you decide to join, if you suddenly decide to go for it. In general, nothing is stopping you from simply following the link and checking out the content of this incredible, truly legendary course. A course that has changed the lives of more than 300 people. What do I want to say? I don't believe in good or bad people. I don't believe that someone is just good, that they're so nice, that you have to treat them a certain way, that they're so sensitive, so easygoing, or that they're just really good at doing manicures, or that they're such a great colorist. My friends, someone can be an amazing colorist. They can be a fantastic, talented manicurist, but at the same time, they can be a terrible person, so ineffective. Someone who talks badly about management in the back room, someone who ruins your reputation behind your back. The fact that they're a great employee when it comes to their skills with their hands means nothing at all. Believe me, the most important thing is what kind of person they are. Of course, they should be able to do their job properly, but that's something you can help with. I always like to say you can't turn a bad person into a good one, but you can turn an average specialist into a great one. You just need to invest in them. And in general, I'm a fan of developing people, of making people stronger. Investing in people is much more powerful, and you'll work with them for much longer. It's a completely different story. That's why I believe in a system that makes people more effective and companies stronger. And that's why in my training, all the modules are actually dedicated to just that. How to make the company stronger, how to make employees stronger, how to systematize and optimize everything. I have good news. In general, even if you don't know yet, or you're not ready, or you just need to think about it, and that's perfectly normal regarding the program, my team and I offer a diagnostic assessment. You can request a diagnostic assessment from me and my team. So when we see your application, we get in touch with you, ask about your situation. I also review your situation. And together with my team, we conduct a diagnostic assessment. We evaluate your current status and provide you with a strategy for the near future. And this is a really great, completely free opportunity. So be sure to fill out the application form that will be under the video. Once you fill it out, we will see your application. Someone will contact you and you can request either a diagnostic session or perhaps you may have other questions. And here's what I want to say. If you realize that you're already tired, truly, of everything that's going on, you want growth, you want to scale up, but you don't understand how to do it because overall you're working yourself to exhaustion. You've invested in Yandex Direct, in Agiz, in Instagram, in SMM. You've invested in everything. You have administrators, or maybe you don't, but you still want it. And you still don't have the results you want. This can really help you a lot. It's a diagnostic session. If you're still unsure about signing up for the training, think about it, but you should definitely sign up for the diagnostic session because my team and I will give you answers to questions that might be holding you back or may have been holding you back for a very long time. In fact, just one right idea that clicks for you can completely change the rules of the game you're playing right now. And really, in general, everything that changes our lives is the right strategy. You can spend a very long time like I did. I used to be very frantic, really frantic. I felt like I had to do a lot and do it fast. Then at some point, I started working with different mentors. I kept finding new ones. I study a lot myself. I'm constantly learning, always improving my own skills too. I believe that I need this myself and I pass all of it on to my students. And I want to tell you that one of them once told me, Amal, you have too much hustle and bustle, but money doesn't like chaos. Sometimes you just need to spend a long time thinking through one thing. And that's exactly what happened. And I have a lot of such examples. I talk about all of this in my webinars to my students during trainings. I share many examples from my own life about how some really important moves in my life, some of them just came to me simply because I spent a long time thinking about something and then an idea would come to me. For example, the idea to offer home visits in my own practice. We are the only ones in our city who offer professional home visits. And, it's not so much about how many clients we get from these home visits. This offer brought us more recognition and uniqueness in our city than actual clients for home visits. And this was a major turning point in my business. People recognized us specifically as, oh, that's White House, they do home visits. You see, this is really powerful. This is about marketing, about how certain important messages get fixed in people's minds. So, my friends, we would be happy to analyze your business, so be sure to fill out the questionnaire. Once you fill out the questionnaire, our team will contact you right away. You'll be able to ask all your questions, and of course, we'll be happy to answer them. And what do I want to say? I personally know what it's like to work yourself to exhaustion, not see results, even though you know you have huge potential. You have a great salon, a great business, even an awesome team. That needs to change. This really needs to change. You truly deserve to play a game where there are results, where there is profit. Because very often, I want to tell you, even in the very first module about finances, where we're not implementing anything yet, we're just looking at what's going on, I often hear, I only know my revenue, but how much do you actually earn? Well, about this much, I guess. I don't know, I haven't calculated it. I have about this much in expenses. And then we start calculating, entering the numbers, and we realize that it's not at all what the owner thought. He's not always in the red, but he thought he was making 300,000 when in reality he was making 50. And it seemed to him that he was earning more because he was taking money from the cash register. But the money in the cash register isn't your money. It's the business's money. There are a lot of such rules that really change your mindset. And simply by using a financial spreadsheet, by improving financial literacy, by reducing expenses, which are usually quite easy to cut, like pointless purchases of materials or unnecessary acquisitions that could have been postponed or not made at all, we make a big difference. And just by changing all of this, even without implementing any marketing tools, we already achieve amazing results. So my friends, I will be happy to see you at the diagnostic session, and I'll be even more delighted to welcome you to the course Masha Your Own Beauty Business. Be sure to fill out the questionnaire that's in our description. I hope you really enjoyed this video. See you next time.